Greetings and good Wednesday morning, this 31st of July. Still the third decade of the 21st century. If for some reason you're new to my channel and not familiar with my content, I always open with identifying that it is indeed the third decade of the 21st century to sort of try to draw attention to the fact that we are in the third decade of the 21st century, and what sort of topics are popular, what sort of topics are trending, what is monopolizing the conversation, what is in the zeitgeist, versus where extremely smart people had once predicted us to be. And that's kind of the tone of this channel. Now I have two different channels. One, J Vegas Nerd C&D, dedicated to all things nerdy, like my recent visit and experience to GalaxyCon Raleigh 2024. I got to put that video together, try to figure out how to edit it, because I haven't figured it out. Not the smartest guy on computers. Just like I still have yet to clean up my workshop. It is what it is. I like everybody else, I'm a work in progress. To try to help explain some of the delays in my posting, so a few things. I've had a lot of things come up recently that have been kind of monopolizing my time. Individually and selfishly, I've been on a weight loss kick to try to get hired for this new job. I got hired for the new job. I start this new job at the end of the month of August on, conveniently, my wife's birthday. And I had to lose weight for the job. Well, I lost the weight, which was significant. I was 265. I had to get down to 207. I have since then exceeded 207, and I'm hovering between 199 and 201. So I'm anywhere on any given day, 199, 200, 201, what have you. I've been like that for the last couple of weeks, but what I've been doing is I've basically converted almost completely to red meat as much as possible, using beef-based protein supplements, eating 8 small meals a day, so every 2 hours, and doing my level best to walk for 20 to 30 minutes after every meal. And here I am. I probably look as good, maybe a little bit better than I did on active duty, but when you have to do that every 2 hours, it takes away from other things. And no disrespect to anybody out there, but my channel's not nearly as important as my fitness or my ability to maintain and keep a job. All right, it's a side hobby I do. I don't make any money off of it. This isn't my living, so I'm not one of those people. Which is why I can also afford to read all the comments, react, and respond to them, which is what I want to do now. Also, to give you a heads up, there's 2 particular days out of the year that are very personal to me. I could have more, but when my son passed away, I always take a personal day for that. And on his birthday, I always take a personal day for that. So we just recently celebrated what would have been his 17th birthday. The same year he died, he would have been 8 years old. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you never look forward to as a parent. It's not the natural order of events. It's not how life is supposed to take place. It's an extraordinary event for what I consider to be a rather vanilla person, but it happened nonetheless. And every year we do some sort of recognition of our son who existed, because what I've realized now is there's so many people in my life, in my circle, that never met him, never knew him. For all intents and purposes, without photos, without any kind of other evidence, he didn't exist. So, without further ado, without dragging things down, welcome to my socio-political channel where I am Dan. I'm not hiding behind anything, no pseudonyms, whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. So, I'm going to get right into it. One who's normally not at a loss for words, Andra Book 8758. Your first comment from 9 days ago was no worries. I'm good. I was shocked he dropped out. I saw it today and almost choked on my coffee. Like, I still find it odd that the presidential election is dominated by like 70-year-olds. In all other jobs, they'd already be retired and in a home. But whatever, it is what it is. It would have been nice to have a totally cool independent, but not really seeing that either. Shrug. I get you. You just kind of get used to the insanity. We're all in an asylum and no one can find the key. It's possible someone just ate it. Somehow eventually it will all work out. I don't really like any of the parties. I think we need candidates willing to rise above it and take the higher road, but no one's doing it. I have not liked any of the candidates for like over a decade. Yeah, same here. Fingers crossed that someone will eventually emerge who's better than all of our current options. The only thing I'll say about Trump is I like how Trump fought fire with fire, and I found it so interesting that if you're left of center, so like a Democrat voter, a liberal voter, whatever the case may be, a non-Republican style voter, everybody hypocritically got all bent out of shape and worked up because the Democrats have always been going low for years. They've never taken the high road at all. They've always thrown low blows. They've always thrown hands. They've always exchanged mud ever since their inception. That's, if you look back historically, that's what they're founded on. With the rarest exceptions of people like John F. Kennedy, who allowed the Democrats to take advantage of his momentum to sell the lie that the party switched. That's what Lyndon Johnson did. It's not true. None of it's true. They just changed strategies. But I digress. That doesn't mean I'm in love with the Republican Party either. What I did like about Donald Trump is how he's like, all right, you want to throw hands? I'm throwing hands too. But nobody was used to that out of the Republican Party. Nobody was used to or expected a Republican candidate to throw hands like that. And because he did, and because of his previous history, all of a sudden it became trendy. It became zeitgeist. It became the cool thing to do to hate him and say downright nasty things about him and his family, and it was like socially and morally acceptable, almost like you had to do it. And that's when I guess my viewpoint started to kind of formulate, like, wow, this is total bullshit. This is total hypocrisy. And if you see a couple more comments, there are people that are basically drinking the other Kool-Aid. I'm not saying I haven't sipped it before, but, you know, I'm just saying. I'm with you. We need newer parties. If you look back on the history of the country, we weren't founded by Democrats and Republicans. We were founded by Federalists and Whigs and other variations. The Democrats were created by the Confederate South. That was their political party of choice and remained that way for people that still were Confederate sympathizers right up until, say, Lyndon Johnson basically pushed forth the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Act of '65 using the momentum of John F. Kennedy, and then helped initiate the lie that under Strom Thurmond the Democrats flipped sides and the Republicans became racist. That's not to say all Northerners weren't racist or bigots. That's just the Republican Party was founded by Frederick Douglass, and the first political candidate was Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't the founder of the Republican Party. He's just the most well-known first Republican elected official. All right, Andra, not done yet. Wow. All right, let me see what I got here. Okay. Yeah, not even going to touch the sexual fluidity BS. They're just nuts, and the nuts adversely affects everyone. It's why people are depressed and stuff. I fully believe that some policies actually cause mental instability. There's places where people are just nuts. They're too far gone. I know kind of where they went off the rails, but it doesn't help. They just don't know how to think anymore. Logic is just not in their heads at all. It's really odd and very self-destructive. None of us should be red versus blue at all, because then both sides take you as a voter for granted, and then they just never deliver on anything they promise, ever. That's why I always say that I'm an independent. Make them work for your vote. Yeah, it's like everybody forgets. They work for our vote, which means they work for us. They're our servants. They're our public servants. And yet they forget that, we forget that, and we just take it for granted that they're supposed to be subservient to us. We elect them to go represent us and to protect our rights and our freedoms that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution. Not subvert years and years and decades and centuries of well-established laws by trying to subvert and overthrow the Supreme Court. These rules have worked for at least 2 centuries. All right, almost 2.5 centuries. And yet now all of a sudden the Democrats don't like the results and they want to change things. When Bill Clinton won the Electoral College, everything was perfectly fine. When Hillary Clinton loses the Electoral College, then it's wrong and it needs to be fixed. When the Democrats can vote 7 judges into the Supreme Court, everything's fine. But when they lose the minority in the Supreme Court, now it's broken and needs to be fixed. The hypocrisy is blatantly obvious, but if you also too share in the feelings and the sentiments that you don't like the results, then of course you're going to be blinded by passion and want things to change as well. You have to watch out for that, because I've fallen for that as well, where I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, and I was like, wait, hang on a second, crap, turnaround is fair play. So I hope it does not reach a physical level. I hate that in general. Violence almost never works to resolve political divides. A bunch of people get hurt, a bunch of stuff gets broken, for which, let's face it, we'll end up paying for at some point. Tax money, right? There's no such thing as federally funded. You are the federal government. You pay your taxes. Still going to come out of my pocket somehow. I just know it. And at the end of the day, the more extreme people on the other side of the divide will be just as stupid tomorrow as they were yesterday. I'm more for being a centrist. I think education is the answer, like good education, not brainwashing, teaching people how to think and not what to think. We used to do that. We used to know that's essential. Take the whole women's issue thing. That problem would go away if people simply admitted that you cannot break the body to fix a mental issue or make it match a broken mind. There's nothing else to say, Andra. That was pretty fucking profound. That debate should not even exist. We don't cut off the ears of people who suffer from hallucinations so they can be fixed and no longer hear voices. We know that would never work, so we just don't do it. Why can't that very logical standard be applied consistently across the board? I don't know. Again, very profound statement. I don't think there's a real reason why it cannot be applied. I think they're just used to speaking and thinking in a particular way, and even if it does not make sense, their habits and their mental comfort has to supersede anything else. It is not right or fair. I worry that by the time people really wake up, it will be a serious strain on our history. We've regressed already so much. I will just say, try to remember that the people who actually are the bad apples in those fields are extremely rare. It's a very small percent compared to everyone else. The overwhelming majority knows that this trend is BS. They do. The other ones get more media attention because they're so outside the norm, not because of any other reason. So don't pay attention to the media on these issues. Don't believe them when they make it sound like everyone in reality, in terms of percentage, these cases and these experts are extremely rare. They're like those stories of nurses who go loco and kill the patients. They gather a lot of attention due to the shock value, not due to popularity. I do wish we had better coverage on these topics though, because even though they're rare and less opposed, the more extreme views can still gain attraction and have a negative impact, and some stuff is permanent and it cannot be undone. That was the whole point of like these talk television shows. They would bring all these micro issues into your living room and overwhelm you with the story that you think is happening everywhere in America, right next door, down the street, in your neighborhood, and it puts everybody in this negative panic mode. I think a lot of the issues, and I'm not saying I've done the research and I've got the numbers and I've got the pie charts. I think a lot of issues are, there are some people that have legitimate concerns and legitimate reasons to raise concerns and have their voices be heard, to be like, look, identify us as humans, recognize us as humans, treat us as humans, so on and so forth. But then corporations, people that have found ways to make money off of victim status, try to create a greater victimhood out of this situation and create this weird social currency out of the situation that turns into actual currency and actual money. And then I think to compound the problem, you have people like my generation who grew up rather open-minded, as in like, what's behind the door? What's so wrong with tattoos? What's so wrong with this? We're basically having kids that, you know, are exploring stuff of a more extreme nature, and instead of telling them no or you can't like our parents did, we're telling them yes because we don't want to lose their affection. God forbid our kids don't like us. All right, God forbid we don't become their best friend anymore. That's not a fucking catastrophe. That's called being a parent. But I think there's so many people in the middle class, middle America, that are so desperate to be their kids' friends that they're adding to this problem. They're like, oh yes, so brave, so beautiful, all the things, right? When all you're really doing is contributing to what is essentially a form of psychosis that could eventually come and go if you don't put it in check. Like, you know what? Maybe I do feel like a chick. Throw some boobs on me, cut my dick in half, fold it in, you know, fold it inside, and then what? 6 months later, shit, that was a bad idea. How do I undo this? You can't. So, personally, I would just like for politicians to focus more on big issues, though, rather than just super fringe issues all the time. Most of us are not trans and will never be trans. They can have their own separate sporting categories. They don't need to mix them in with the women. I think they're just doing it for the media attention, really, and it will eventually blow up in their faces. But in the meantime, they are victims. Yeah, we have the Special Olympics for people with disabilities. Why can't we have the Trans Olympics? Why not? Let biological women who think they're men compete against whatever, against other biological women who think they're men. It's hard to describe the insanity of a campus turning against female athletes just because they stated out loud what everyone agreed with just a few years ago. I'm going to stop right there because it's kind of like, oh, you didn't vote for Obama, you must be a racist, you must be a bigot, you must hate black people. It's like, no, I despise the Democratic Party just in principle and legacy alone. You don't have to agree with that, you don't have to, confirm with my belief system, but that's me. I don't care if the person's purple, if they have a vagina, Native American, Indian from India. I don't personally care. I just hate the Democratic Party. It doesn't help when the people running happen to have bad agendas, happen to have bad history, skeletons in the closet, bad policies. That doesn't help. All right, it helps fuel my fire, but I think Kamala Harris is a garbage candidate. I didn't like Barack Obama as a political candidate, not because of the color of his skin or per se his religious beliefs. I didn't like him as a political candidate, nor did I like him as a Democrat. As a man, never met him, don't know if I would like him as a man. All right. Just because they changed the policy independently without any consultations, just because it was trending, that's not right. It damages people. They're never going to be the same again. Anyone having that type of power against you is extremely toxic and damaging. Outside of that, though, it is very odd to me that we've spent so much time focusing on so much time on a debate for an issue which will never personally affect over like 98% of us. The gas prices are killing us for sure. Home prices are killing us. Most of us, even the LGBTQ plus, have to deal with this stuff. We need to start focusing on some of that big picture stuff again. Right, like the border, right? You think it's Spanish-speaking people coming across the border in droves looking to, roof your home, cut your grass, tile your bathroom, do the labor jobs that average Americans won't do? No. There's plenty of people that go durka durka boom that are coming across the border that are hoping to, convert the world to Islam through violence and coercion. And trust me, Islam is very, very much against LGBTQ+. All right? I love what Netanyahu said. Gays for Palestine is like chickens for KFC. We do have a communication issue. Too many of us are focusing on the negative and feeling lost in the dysfunction. Don't listen to the stupidity. No female I've ever known was anti-male of any kind. Not for any reason. Don't give people the power to influence you so much with their vitriol that it disconnects you from reality. We're all right here. We all know right from wrong usually. We just need to remember that when we're stressed too, if some of the people around you are trying to drive you nuts, then it's your job to deny them that privilege. We don't need to fight each other. We don't need another war of the sexes or any of this crap. We just need to reclaim our social narrative a little bit. Maybe. Go for practicality. It may sound boring, but it helps you win every challenge. I'm more worried about the super woke stuff because I worry that what my kids will grow up with in the future, should I ever actually be able to afford to have kids. That statement is super grim, I know, but most of my age group feels the same. We're just kind of fading away in all the dysfunction. Anyway, let's try to stay positive. No one can predict the future. A lot of times it's the darkest before the dawn. Well, it's like that phrase goes, hard men produce good times produce weak men produce hard times. I feel like hard times are coming because we've created weak men. We've created the soy boys, the beta males, because apparently that's what's acceptable to the female dating standard of the modern age. This nonsense of mansplaining. I'm sorry, but if stereotypically I grew up in a world where women weren't into mechanics, women weren't into construction, I'm not trying to judge you as a woman per se. It's just the overwhelming majority of women aren't interested in these topics. Just like you'd have to womansplain to me certain things that are not natural to men. All right? So, you're right. I think we've gone out of our way to focus so much on negative stuff. It's crazy. All right, and then what do we got here? Jerry5876, I think tipping culture is getting out of hand as well. And I responded, it's so bad it's even showing up in... Yeah. Like, okay, it's one thing like where it's a particular job where your service is, I don't know, like in the service industry where tipping is normal. But then, like, if you just did your damn job, then why should you get a tip? If you're getting paid an appropriate amount of money and tips are not supposed to be inclusive to your salary, then why the fuck should you be... Yeah, the tipping thing is way out of hand. Yeah. And then Charles Brown, XP3VH, Newburn here. Great content. Hope the channel grows. Thank you. I'm not overly concerned if the channel grows or not. I'm not in this for monetization. I'm not trying to be some YouTube celebrity that gets invited out to events. I was just a selfish prick that wanted to get shit off my chest and, you know, use this as a inexpensive form of therapy and, you know, hopefully connect with other people, whether we think alike, don't think alike, whatever the case may be. But I really think we need to start talking to each other without, you know, oh, you're blue, well, I'm red, well, go fuck yourself. No, let's talk. All right, WWII Rebel, I'm glad he dropped out. I did tons of research on the man. I discovered that Biden actually lied constantly and committed numerous acts of plagiarism in every speech he ever gave his entire political career. What I will say to that is I think, quite frankly, Biden wasn't elected as the best candidate. He was elected as the anti-Trump candidate. And I hate to admit it, but I think Trump was the anti-Hillary candidate. I don't know that many people voted for him as a candidate as much as they voted against Hillary. I think Biden was just the anti-Trump. I think there were a lot of unlawful shenanigans that led to a quote-unquote legal vote. Tim Pool says it much better than I, that there were illegal processes put in place to allow for legal votes, but then even Steven Crowder sent research teams out to verify people and addresses where the physical location on a map existed, but like the physical home did not, or the person did not, or like, you know, my first name and middle name registered as a voter, and then like my middle name and last name registered as a voter, and then my first name and last name registered as a voter. People have it's so hard to believe that between both Trump and Biden, each of them got the most votes ever in U.S. history, and yet Biden was more popular than Obama. Yeah. Dean-X2023, amen, brother. Yep, you know, like I say, I'm a selfish prick. I'm just getting shit off my chest. In 2016, people were not sure how Trump would do as a president, but after his presidency, I'm voting for him again. We were in much better shape, and I'm voting for my wallet to be thicker. Yeah, I do think Trump did some good things. I think people overly focused on, and I think the media especially overly highlighted and drew too much attention to like his Twitter account or, you know, potential, you know, political faux pas that you don't normally expect out of a politician. But I hate to admit it, that's kind of what I admired about him. I was so happy to finally have somebody unpolished that was kind of like, you know, flawed like me, rough around the edges like me. Brian, 9/11/45, America is a joke and the party is coming to a close. Let's hope not. The current status of affairs, I think, yeah, other countries look at us as a joke, like I can't believe they're contemplating this stuff. However, it could be worse. We could be like other countries in Europe that are having far bigger issues than us. E. Paulitz, 1482, enjoyed the rant. You're not alone. Carry on. Yeah, I realize I'm probably not alone, but I still think we need to talk to other people that we disagree with and disagree with us. Anabolic Amaranth 7140. Jill Stein is my candidate, but I think a lot of her ideas would not have a good outcome if implemented. I get you 100%. I would love to see independent parties rise. I would love to see independent candidates get farther along the ballot. I would love to see a modification of the Electoral College. Right now, if you're not familiar, the Electoral College is a winner takes all. If you win the popular vote of the state, then you get all the electoral votes. If you're also not educated, or maybe you forgot from high school, so based on the number of congressional representatives you get, so your congressional districts, that equals one portion, a significant portion of your electoral votes. And then each state gets 2 senatorial electoral votes. That can often make for an awkward, odd number. Meaning, in my particular point of view, if there's 4 candidates in a state, each candidate, if they win a district, then they get that district's congressional vote, so that the congressional votes can be split amongst 4 different candidates. The problem is the 2 senatorial votes. So the senatorial votes, which are typically, no shit, split between like Democrat, Republican, unless we have independents, then I don't know how that would work. I don't know, because nothing would be 100% fair. So the Republican vote would go to the Republican, the Democratic vote would go to the Democrat candidate, or the independent senator would go to the I don't know. But I think that if you win the popular vote in that congressional district, then that candidate should get that congressional district's vote, instead of the winner takes all. But yeah, I've looked at a lot of independent candidates, and you know, like, I don't think Donald Trump is a full-blown Republican. I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy is a full-blown Republican. Vivek was my candidate, but they've made the realization that you do have to pick a party to get somewhere. All right, Thing-1948. All the rich Republicans are moving all of their empires to the south and selling off all their blue lands and importing a lot of APCs and such from what the Russians are saying. If the FBI doesn't mass arrest all the people usurping the office of the mostly dead grandpa, I think there's not much use pretending we are living under constitutional law. Everything sucks and is trending towards out-of-control suckiness. Because all our oligarchs are evil morons and all our self-made mega-strong enemies are currently ruled by really smart people, they will continue to beat our nation gently up against the wall until everything implodes. You know, I don't doubt that outside entities, foreign entities, are having their way with politics through financial influences, which are mostly influenced by big business. So if foreign entities are investing in businesses, etc., because you can't run a campaign without money. All right, so I think there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. I think it would require a little bit more for me to expand upon, and I think it's one of those topics where I would fall down numerous rabbit holes and lose focus. But I don't think you're wrong that there are a lot of outside influences, which is coincidentally why we're stuck with the 2-party system, because there's too many people in business overly invested in the Democratic Party, and vice versa. There's too many people overly invested from a business perspective in the Republican Party. Until more people, say like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, like our Uber millionaires, can start investing in 3rd and 4th parties and help rise them up above, I think we're stuck where we're at. Tobacco Road, 1960. You know how many people are on my team? 1. Me. Team de uno. Yeah, I get you. And then CMNK.556 Saren. And you think Trump will make things cheaper? Good luck with that. Laughing faces. He's going to raise your taxes. We'll see. We'll see. Hama.Fernandez. I mean, come on. He attempted a coup. He was charged with, I'm assuming, sexual assault, and he was convicted of fraud. How worse he could get? Nothing said about him in the media is propaganda, but on the other hand, the right-wing media claims that every LGBTQ member is a child molester, that Democrats drink baby's blood. Get a grip, bud. Well, I feel like I have a firm grip. I feel like my grip on reality is pretty strong. I do believe that the media is belligerently left-leaning and pushes out nothing but propaganda to help support liberal, left-leaning agendas. I do believe that. If you feel that's my loss of a grip on reality, maybe you're losing focus on objectivity and you're a little too drunk on left Kool-Aid. I don't know. I don't know, but I welcome the discourse. I welcome the discourse. You may also be of the mindset where how you live your life, the sum total of your experiences, the things that are important to you, are only represented by the left. and I get that. One of the big reasons I can't get on board with the Republican Party is because they got in bed with the church, and the church has a very hard stance on things like LGBTQ, whatever, alphabet mafia. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who you're attracted to. I don't care who you love. I don't care what you do intimately in the bedroom. If my wife and I want to dress up as clowns and whip each other before sex, that's our business. That shouldn't be anybody else's business, and it shouldn't be a political statement. It shouldn't be a political affiliation. It should be our thing. Why it's such a big deal, I don't know. Normally, like when you apply for a job, there used to be this thing like how many words can you type per minute, not how many gay words can you type per minute, or how gay can you type per minute. I digress. I do believe that there has been a concerted effort to try and take Trump out of the election because of how popular he is and how anti-left he is and how much support he's gotten from people who are tired of the woke agenda, who are tired of the left. But you said right wing. You said right wing, which indicates right there. Wing implies a sense of extremism, which means you may not believe in this concept, and I'm going to throw it out there. There's the center, where most people try to find agreements, where we used to find civility, where we used to come together and agree on right and wrong. And then on various topics, we would go left or we would go right. You with me so far? Now, some people are right of center, some people are left of center. It just is what it is. Some people have a different view on abortion than others. Some have more extreme views on abortion than others. So the way I interpret the use of the word wing, left wing, right wing, is a form of extremism. And I do believe there is extremism. I do believe there is right wing. I do believe there is left wing. I do believe that if we were in a room and there was the center of the room, you could be on the left side, you could be on the right side. Then there's people that go to the walls and try to push the walls down because it's not right enough. It's not left enough. That would be left wing, right wing. If you just associate all people left, right of center as right wing, then you're being a bit myopic. You're not being completely objective. You may have your reasons for that. You may have some sort of emotional reason for that. The hardest thing I've had to do was remove some of the emotion from the equation and try to look at things objectively. Like, I can recognize you as a person. I can recognize that you exist. I may not agree with everything. I may not agree with how you live your life, but I don't have to get involved. I don't have to interfere, and I don't have to interrupt your life. I can let you live what you believe is your best life. But at the same time, don't force your way on me. Don't force your beliefs on me. Don't force your way of life on me. Don't try to force me to accept anything. If I'm going to leave you alone, leave me the fuck alone. Fair enough? All right. Last comment comes in from Technologic21. For the first time in my life, I feel politically homeless. It's all upside down. It's got to be more than simply Coke versus Pepsi every 4 years. I've been saying that for years. Sorry, I bumped my thing. I've been saying that for years, right? You know, like sometimes I'm in the mood for Sprite, or sometimes I'm in the mood for something else. But all my choices are Coke and Pepsi, which is funny because those two actually feud against each other. Pepsi was actually invented in New Bern, which is not even an hour north of where I live. And of course, Coke is out of Georgia. Anyways, no, you're absolutely right. I think the unfortunate truth is too many business oligarchs have invested too much money to make the Democrats and the Republicans too powerful. We need new uber millionaires, billionaires, if you will, to help build up these other parties that can maybe blend some ideas from both. See, in my estimation, the Democratic Party tries to side with everybody who feels victimized by the church. And then the Republican Party basically got in bed with the church. So everything is Jesus, 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 church, church, church. All right? And that's where the morals and the ethics and everything comes from. I'm not going to lie. I'm what you might call a Judeo-Christian atheist. I don't believe in the church, I don't believe in the Bible, and I don't believe in all those things, but I was raised on the ethics and the morals and the principles of the Judean-Christian world. All right? So that, I guess you could say that makes me a Judeo-Christian atheist. However, because of the hard stance they take on certain things and other things I could elaborate on, I just can't get in bed with the Republican Party. But I just utterly despise the Democratic Party. It's just, I've said it numerous times, and I hate repeating myself, but in war there are winners and losers. The Democrats lost the Civil War, and by my account, their political party should have been disbanded. However, everybody from the South that survived, you can't tell them to think differently. You can't force them to think and feel differently. If deep down they were racist bigots and they thought white skin was holier than thou, the purest of the pure, and non-white people either, didn't deserve the same quality of life even if they converted to Christianity, I don't know how you can cleanse that from their brain housing system just by abolishing their political party. I mean, historically speaking, you can't deny it. You don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with it, but you can't deny it. Only one political party has ever had militant groups to enforce their will. The KKK, the Black Panthers, BLM, Antifa. All Democrats, all liberals. I'm just saying. And if you're arguing, oh, MAGA, it's a slogan, it's a phrase. It's not an actual movement. They don't have uniforms. All right? So, I'm just saying, you don't have to like it, but it's like prison sex. You don't have to like that either. It's going to happen. So, that's all I got. By all means, for those of you that partake in the conversation, I really appreciate it. Again, we're not trying to change each other's minds. We're just trying to have conversations. I recognize you. I don't see you, but I recognize you as a person. I recognize you have your own thoughts and opinions on subject. I recognize we don't have to agree, and I'm not here to change your mind. Don't change my mind. I'm still willing to listen, or in this case, read, and if you listened, I appreciate it. Get involved. Leave a comment. I'm not that big. Just, Andra, do me a favor. Try to shorten it a little bit. Either that or hit me up in an email. I did give you my email address at least one video ago, but you've seen it. I will read, react, and respond. So everybody be safe. Stay awesome. We'll see you next time.